All right, so today I want to talk about the analogy of the divided line, which is found in Book 6 of Plato's Republic. And this is actually one that I didn't quite understand myself for a long time, largely because I'm often listening to audiobooks, particularly the Republic. I listen to that much more than I read it. So it really helps to have the line in front of you when you're going through it. Now remember, this is in the context of Plato, Socrates, talking about the good. And so he's trying to explain the good using a bunch of different analogies, and this is one that he camps on for a little while. He tells you to imagine a line, and this line is divided into unequal parts. So our first division is right here where we see C. And then he says, take those two parts and divide them again unequally. So this section right here, sorry, it's hard to figure this out. This section right here is divided unequally. So we have a smaller part and a larger part. And then this section right here, the larger section, is also divided unequally. We have a smaller part and a larger part. Now, the beginning of this line, A to C, is what is the visible world. So the things that we can see with our eyes. Now, the section between A and B, this small section, is sort of the most blurry of the visible world. And he uses the example of reflections in water and shadows. And so these are the sorts of things that we can see, but we can't see very clearly. And then between B and C, within the visible world, we have things that we can see clearly. So if I'm looking directly at a chair, a tree, whatever, I can see it. There's nothing obscuring my understanding of it as I look at it. Now, this section, this early visible section, is actually used to help us to understand this later section. And the later section is the intelligible world. So this is stuff that we can't really grasp with our eyes. We have to grasp it with our minds. So now we have this section, this smaller section between C and D. And now this area right here is the first earliest sort of mental understanding that we can get. And Plato uses math and geometry and things that are sort of linked to the world, intelligible things, right? Things that are happening in our mind but are linked. So if I'm using geometry, they're shapes, right? I can see a shape, but it's also conceptual in the sense that I'm using my mind to understand relations and mathematical, the difference between shapes and how they interact with one another, counting, multiplying. These sorts of things are linked to the physical world, but they are using our minds. So this section is sort of that earlier bit of mental stuff, right? This is the A to B for our mental stuff. This is the stuff that we can sort of see not as clearly. And now this D to E, this big old section here, that's where the good lives. And it's basically what we can understand solely through our minds. It's ideas. It is what we'll learn when we do philosophy the way that Plato imagines it. And he uses the word dialectic. And this basically what he's doing in these dialogues is talking to people and fleshing out ideas and trying to get closer and closer to a reality that we cannot grasp with our eyes. We cannot grasp on paper. It needs to be kind of done in this way. And that is that big section, and that's where we find the good. Now, Plato never really tells us exactly how to find the good. He never even tells us exactly what the good is. He uses these analogies, and that is why you have to read very broadly within Plato to understand what's going on with the good. Now, I will say the good is, in the Republic, what the leaders, what the philosopher kings are seeking after. And once they achieve it, they become capable of ruling and capable of ruling effectively. That's because the good is essentially what distances them from this physical world and the needs that are in the physical world. You think the love of money, the love of pleasure, these sorts of things that our guardians in the Republic will not be worrying about so much. So that is the divided line. And I think that it becomes much clearer in the context of the other allegories and the other analogies. We have the analogy of the sun, we have the allegory of the cave that are right in this section. I have a couple videos on the cave, and I'll probably try to throw one up on the sun as well. So stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions, just let me know.